Your electric bill suddenly goes up, but your lifestyle hasn't changed. You haven't bought any major new appliances. You haven't intentionally started using more electricity. So what is going on? Is the electric meter wrong? Or is the electricity actually being used somewhere you haven't noticed? In this video, we'll look at 5 real reasons why your electric bill can suddenly go up. We'll start with the most common causes and then move on to a more technical problem involving the neutral conductor and the way some electronic meters detect current. The first possibility is the simplest. You may actually be using more electricity without realizing it. Some electrical loads are easy to overlook because they operate automatically. A refrigerator or freezer switches on and off by itself. A water heater can turn on without you thinking about it. Air conditioning and electric heating can consume a lot of electricity. And many electronic devices continue using power while you're not actively using them. Televisions, routers, security systems, computers and chargers are good examples. The consumption of one device may be small, but when many devices operate continuously, the total consumption can become significant over an entire month. So before blaming the meter, find out what is actually running in your home. The second possibility is a problem with the electrical wiring. This can be especially important in older buildings. As wiring gets older, its insulation can deteriorate. Moisture can also contribute to leakage problems. This is especially relevant in basements, garages, outdoor circuits and other difficult environments. If current is flowing through an unintended path, you are still supplying that current from your electrical system. And if that current represents real energy consumption, it can appear on your bill. The problem may not be inside an appliance. It may be somewhere in the wiring. The third possibility is less common, but it can be very unpleasant. Something that isn't supposed to be connected to your electrical system may actually be connected to it. This can happen because of wiring mistakes, construction work, or modifications made years ago. For example, an outlet, light or other equipment may have been connected to the wrong circuit. In an apartment building, wiring mistakes can even result in equipment being connected to another apartment circuit. This doesn't necessarily mean someone is stealing electricity. It can simply be a wiring mistake. I once dealt with a case where a light inside a built-in cabinet was connected to a neighbor's wiring. When the neighbors switched off their breakers, the light disappeared. The load was small. But imagine if the same mistake involved an electric heater or another powerful appliance. That's why unexplained electricity consumption can sometimes require a professional inspection. The fourth possibility appears when an old meter is replaced with a modern electronic meter. Older electromechanical meters and modern electronic meters use different measurement principles. Modern electronic meters can measure electricity differently from older electromechanical meters. This can become noticeable when a home has many different types of electrical loads. For example, there may be motors, electronic power supplies, welding equipment and other complex loads. So after an old meter is replaced, the readings may change. But this does not automatically mean that the new meter is overcharging you. It may simply be measuring the actual consumption differently or more accurately. And now we get to the possibility everyone thinks about first. The meter itself can fail. There can be electronic failures, software problems, damage caused by external events, or other faults. But you cannot reliably determine this just by looking at your electricity bill. A proper meter test is needed to determine whether the meter is measuring correctly. And you should never open a sealed meter yourself. So how can you find out whether the extra consumption is real? There are several ways to investigate the problem. One useful method is to compare the meter with a properly tested reference meter. If you have one available, you can compare the two readings under the same conditions. With the electrical load switched off, the meters should not show significant consumption. Of course, some equipment may still be powered. For example, a router or security system may need to remain connected. With a known load connected, the readings of the two meters can also be compared. Small differences are possible because the meters can have different accuracy in their own power consumption. Another diagnostic tool is a sensitive current clamp. A qualified electrician can measure current in different parts of the electrical system and determine where unexpected current is flowing. And this brings us to the most technical part of the video. Some electronic meters can monitor current in the neutral conductor. Why would a meter need to do that? One reason is to detect abnormal wiring conditions. If current takes an unexpected path, the relationship between the currents in different conductors can change. And some meters can use this information for diagnostics or tamper detection. But there is an important point. Not every electricity meter is designed in the same way. The exact behavior depends on the electrical system, the meter design and the way its measurement system works. Imagine that a wiring problem creates another path for current. For example, neutral and grounding conductors may be connected together where they should not be. Part of the normal load current can then flow through an unintended grounding path. This is not a normal operating condition, and it can be a serious electrical safety problem. But does this automatically make the meter count twice as much? There is no universal answer. It depends on how the particular meter measures current. This is also where different electrical systems around the world become important. Electrical systems are not identical around the world. For example, a typical American residential system uses a 120/240 volt split-phase arrangement. Other countries commonly use a different single-phase arrangement, such as a 230-volt line and neutral system. This matters because meters are designed for the electrical system in which they are used. So a wiring problem that produces an abnormal current path can be detected or interpreted differently by different meter designs. This is why you should never assume that the behavior of one meter applies to every meter in every country. This is especially important with some single-phase electronic meters that monitor the neutral conductor. If the wiring is incorrect and part of the current takes an unintended path, the meter may detect a difference between the expected currents. Depending on the meter, this can be used as a diagnostic or tamper condition. But this does not mean that every meter will simply add this current to your electricity consumption. The exact result depends on the specific meter and its measurement system. So if you suspect a problem with the neutral conductor or grounding system, this is not something to diagnose by guessing. It should be checked by a qualified electrician. If your measurements suggest that the problem is in the electrical installation, that problem can be investigated and repaired by an electrician. But if the evidence points to the meter itself, don't open it or break its seals. Contact the utility or the organization responsible for metering in your area. A proper meter test can determine whether the device is actually measuring incorrectly. The important thing is to have evidence. For example, you can document simultaneous readings from the meter and a properly tested reference meter. You can also provide the results of measurements made by a qualified electrician. Simply saying that the bill used to be lower is usually not enough to determine that the meter is faulty. So, is your electric meter lying? Maybe. But in many cases, the meter is simply reporting electricity that is actually being consumed somewhere in the electrical system. The real cause may be an unexpected load, old wiring, leakage, a hidden connection, or a problem with the installation. And in some cases, the meter itself can actually be faulty. The important thing is to find out where the electricity is actually going before blaming the meter. Have you ever had a situation where your electric bill suddenly increased for no obvious reason? Tell me what happened in the comments. Your experience might help someone else find the problem. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.